Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Reina Bejarano. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for the Oxnard Union High School District.
And I'm Senorita Los Santos, a social media and communication specialist here at the district. Thank you for joining us tonight on this very important topic.
Tonight we're going to present to you a parent's guide to social media, and we have a few of our partners here with us tonight. We have Ventura County Behavioral Health, Ventura County Sheriff, and Oxnard Police Department joining us this evening. Next slide, please.
You to the camera, and then
Okay.
if you can do me a favor, Senna, you just do a sound check real quick.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check, 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 check. Check, check, checks.
We got
All good?
sound back.
We're good?
Okay, are we back on?
Yeah, just a second though. Senator, go ahead and say.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, let's see. Senator, give me one more time to help check.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're here at the Oxnard Union High School District in the boardroom meeting.
Okay,
We're good?
we're back.
Okay. Raina, do you want to continue? Sorry for the technical
Yes, we
difficulties.
apologize for the delay. So what I was saying was TikTok is currently the third most popular social media platform among U.S. teens, trailing to Instagram as well as Snapchat. According to a survey conducted in the fall of 2020, 70% of American teenagers use TikTok at least once a month versus 39% for Twitter and 28% for Facebook. So they are typically on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. Okay, next slide, please. So what is TikTok? TikTok is a newer social media application that teens are using. It revolves around users recording and sharing short videos. They can be up to 60 seconds long. It grew in popularity around 2019 with many users having more time on their hands, and of course with the pandemic, more and more teens were getting on TikTok. Next slide, please. With Snapchat, Snapchat is used by the majority of high school students. This app is used to communicate with other teens. They use pictures, they can chat, they can message one another. The trick with Snapchat is that the messages and the photos disappear after 24 hours. So it's very hard to get back the message or the photo that would have been sent to another user. In order to see that message or that photo, the user must screenshot, or it is literally gone forever. It's very difficult to track, and that becomes a challenge for us as parents. As you'll hear later in the presentation, nothing is gone forever, but Snapchat is one of those applications that makes it extremely difficult to find that information later on. Instagram. Next slide, please. Instagram is another popular app. It's free. It's a photo sharing application. It also allows for short videos. It is owned by Facebook, so it's monitored by Facebook. Users edit, upload, share photos and videos through the app. They can caption, they can like, they can comment. It also has a DM feature, which stands for direct message. So users can get messages in their inbox as well as posting, sharing, following other users. Next slide, please.
So there are several concerns when it comes to social media and our teens, but tonight we're going to focus on 3 trends that we're seeing here at our district that are very concerning. School threats are increasing at an alarming rate. This includes threats of violence being made on school campuses. Now, if you recall, just a couple of months ago, several schools in our own district received threats of school shootings taking place. Students are creating the posts stating a location, time, and a date that the school shooting will occur. Then this post is shared multiple times around campus and even spreads over to other school districts. It's really just a bad game of telephone. So what we're seeing here at the district is students creating these posts on Snapchat, thinking that it's going to be deleted within hours, but other students are screenshotting it, and that's when the distribution takes place. Next slide, please. The other major issue that we're seeing here at the district is students, they're creating fake Instagram accounts. Now, this appears to represent our schools using the icon as you see in the example. For another example, PHS Secrets. So that would be Pacifica High School Secrets. These accounts post embarrassing photos of students and staff members who don't even know that their photos are being taken in the first place. Many of these accounts are harassing, bullying, and exploiting other students. And also in many cases, as you can see in this example here, the account holder is even asking for money for these posts to be taken down. Next slide, please. Now in the TikTok world, the trends are changing every month, and as we're seeing, even every day, so it's very hard to keep up. While many of these are harmless, there are some that are very concerning and even illegal. TikTok school challenges are also known as devious lick challenges. The first viral video of a devious lick was stealing a wall mount hand sanitizer from a campus, and then a student quickly received more than 2 million likes. Then monthly challenges started to occur after that. As you can see, some of these are very concerning. Take, for example, October, smack a staff member. We did unfortunately have several students do this within our school district. Next slide, please. So what is the Oxnard Union High School District doing? Well, we're trying to help end all of these concerning trends. We're monitoring social media. We're reporting concerning accounts, but just to let you parents know, just because we are reporting these accounts, there's no guarantee that they'll actually be deleted. We're tracing users, and we've actually become quite good at this, tracing the users. Although if your student is caught with the school threat, there is a possibility for suspension and possible expulsion. And we're taking action, and we're also informing parents and community members. Next slide, please.
And I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the presentation. We understand that you will have a lot of questions and comments. We do have somebody monitoring the chat. We will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. And the reason for that is we may answer your question during the presentation. So we will have time at the end for questions. And with that, I'd like to welcome Commander Luis MacArthur from the Oxnard Police Department. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about what law enforcement is doing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Raina. Thank you, Senator. First of all, for inviting me to speak before all of you here today on such a relevant topic, something that we've seen happening nationwide, right, just like Raina mentioned, and Senator, about these TikTok challenges and posts and reposting on social media with the various platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, etc. And this becomes very disruptive. I can tell you specifically what we've had here in Oxnard back on December 10th. That's when we saw the first of several threats of violence against our local schools here. We saw threats against Oxnard High School, where it was reported that there was going to be some violence at the school, so much so that it created a tremendous amount of disruption and chaos at the school. My own son, who's a freshman at Oxnard High School, at one point was the only student sitting in a classroom because so many students left. I think the school has somewhere near 3,000 students, but it is that chaotic when we get these threats of violence that are circulating within the pupils themselves, and also parents that are reposting some of this information. That it really sucks up a lot of resources, not only from the school but from the police department. We take every one of these threats extremely serious, so it's really a strain on the resources. With that incident, we arrested two teens, a 14-year-old girl and also a 14-year-old boy, both from Oxnard High School. They were arrested and in charge with causing a disruption at school. Soon after that happened, 5 days later, we had similar threats of violence reported at Pacifica High School and also at Wanimi High School. The police department worked very diligently to try to ascertain who was responsible for originating these threats. And I take it like when these threats come out, we will mobilize and we will take all of these threats seriously. We recognize that we're dealing with kids, right? And sometimes the maturity level is not there. We always hear the same story that they didn't mean to do it. It was done as a joke. It was done as a challenge. And we get that, we're certainly not about wanting to penalize a kid. That's seriously recognizing that there's minors, but nonetheless, we're forced to. We're forced to take action. We're forced to make sure that they're held accountable for what they did, and they will be. Anytime somebody makes a threatening message through social media, just remember that you leave a footprint there. It's a digital footprint, and we will vigorously work to try to find out who originated this threat. There's always an exhaust that is left from wherever it is that they decided to make these posts. We work collaboratively with the schools, with other law enforcement agencies, with the FBI's field office to try to figure out where this originated from. We have partners in these various social sites, including Facebook, that actually their security department is ran by an ex-law enforcement officer. So we have very close ties with them. If we need to, we will write warrants to make sure that these accounts are frozen so that they don't, even though somebody ends up deleting their account, we will preserve that account, working with these media platforms to make sure that we can let it go back in there and find out who posted this. On these 5 cases that I mentioned, we ended up effectuating arrest of all 5 students. The 14-year-olds at Oxnard High School, 2 16-year-olds from Pacifica High School, and then a 17-year-old from Wanimi High School. And all 5 of them were arrested and charged with causing a disturbance at school. Now, I always get asked about the consequences behind their actions when somebody is arrested. You know, that all actually depends on a number of things. If that student has a prior criminal record, for example, the consequence can be that much more serious. But we work very closely with the probation department and also with the district attorney's office to make sure that these teens are held accountable. And this is a great forum that we're having here today to make sure that we engage and connect with parents so that we can have these conversations about what is happening because we recognize that they're teens, but nonetheless, when they make these threats, it really is a disruption for the schools, and it affects the learning atmosphere, and it strains us here at the police department. I'll be around after these, I know another presenter's coming here, but should anybody have any questions or for me to clarify anything, I'll be around to be part of the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander.
Thank you, that was great.
Next, we'd like to welcome Captain Don Aguilar from the Ventura County Sheriff's Office, and he is going to talk to you about what the Sheriff's Office is doing. Welcome, Captain.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for having me on tonight. It's really important, as the commander and our staff have said tonight, the importance of figuring out what's going on with social media and our awareness. And so I just would like to say that awareness works 2 ways. Awareness is for you, the parent. I think many of us are parents here. I'm a parent. And also awareness for our youth. So telling your kids what are the consequences of things if they go wrong on social media. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. And I just kind of want to throw out some ideas, some things that we're doing, and some things that happen with enforcing these laws for people who violate them. And I'm talking about not just adults, but youth as well. So we'll go into that tonight as well. And I know there'll be questions later on. I'll be happy to answer those as we go on during the program for tonight. Okay.
Next slide, Kale.
So really what matters to you as parents is where do the posts go? And they go everywhere. It expands exponentially, if you will, to many, many people. If you send things to a person on a social media account and other people view that account, they're going to go ahead and look at it, or they may even copy something, or they may even take a photo and repurpose it for something else that may not necessarily be lawful or even ethical. So beware of where those posts are actually going. They're going places you don't know, and for sure your children don't know as well. Someone you don't know is going to get these posts, or your child. So it's very important to understand that you may have an intention of where it needs to go, but ultimately, once you click that send button or that enter button, it's going to go across probably the world as far as nationally, internationally. Things just get transferred and moved and copied and pasted and put on other sites and blogs and all those kinds of things. So it's very important to remember that it's going lots of places and more than likely to people that we do not know. Permanent. There's no way to completely 100% scrub any information that any of us put on the internet. So be mindful before you post. It's very important to discuss with your children what they are posting and what the intent of the post is going to be, and can it pass muster as far as in anything that was maybe construed as or misunderstood as inappropriate, or even images that are inappropriate or could be construed as inappropriate. So as I talk about this, some of the major dangers of social media are child luring, stalking or harassing people online, sending harmful matter, and I mean nude, explicit images of people, exploitation of people, and also people asking others, for example, minors, to send images to them. So there is an interaction going on, and you need to know what your child is doing with those interactions as they happen. And as the commander just pointed out, probably one of the most important ones that we are dealing with, it seems like weekly or even monthly at some of our campuses, are threats on campus. And those threats are not being generated on campus themselves. They're being generated on social media, where someone may say, is there going to be a shooting at school tomorrow? Or some of those benign comments like that, or even, what would we do in an active shooter situation? If those comments are heard, they could be understood as, hey, is someone thinking about doing something, or is this just pure inquisition by, or inquiry by a child saying, what would happen if this were the case? So they go from very light comments like that to very serious comments, very direct comments, even to the point of what kind of weapon they would use to cause some kind of threat or assault on somebody on campus. Okay, next slide, please. We always tell our children, treat others as you would like to be treated. That is really the bar we have to hold accountability to, not only each other as people and citizens, but also teach our youth at a young age that we have to treat everybody equal and to be treated with respect and dignity. Realize that all kinds of audiences can be reached with social media. So even if we intend on our response or our statements or our images want to be sent to a certain audience, they can be either misunderstood, or a portion of those can be taken and placed into online into the social media atmosphere to be used in a different way, maybe not the way we want it to, and it may not be in a positive way. So that's really, really important, and we'll discuss that later in a case that we covered. Okay, next slide, please. I just want to impress upon everyone the importance of consequences. There are tons of consequences here, and we'll talk about twofold. First, the first few here are certainly administrative sanctions at school. The schools are busy every day. I speak with my school resource officer at Rio Mesa High School, and we talk about things that are going on every day. Trust me, if I threw a deputy into the school resource officer position for one day, they would come and tell me at the end of the day that they want to go back to patrol immediately. And that is because the schools are busy, administrators are busy, teachers are busy. There are lots of issues and concerns going on daily, and the school resource officers are not just there to deal with problems. They're there to support staff, support students, and create that positive atmosphere so that everybody who comes to school every day, including staff, can expect to have a safe and enthusiastic and upbeat day at school. The second consequence we talk about is criminal. So above administrative sanctions that your child may experience, or a child may experience, they may have suspension or expulsion from school. Then you get into the realm of criminal. If there's a criminal violation, that is more serious, of course, and that constitutes an investigation, and youth services will be involved with that, and the juvenile justice system as well. So criminal is just the next step up of seriousness. It is serious. Administrative is serious enough, but criminal to the realm of that is very serious. And above all this information and these social media consequences of doing things that are inappropriate is going to cause embarrassment to a lot of people. It's going to cause embarrassment to the student when they either have sanctions imposed on them or they're arrested. And on the other side of it, the parents are going to have to deal with how to fix the issue and correct the issues with their child. But also they could face some embarrassment as well from what the actions of their children. So think about these things before. Look at things that are going on with social media and what your children are doing online with their phones and or the computer. Okay, next slide, please. Some more consequences. Again, when things get used inappropriately or images are changed or altered or text is altered, there could be public embarrassment online, and your child or we all see situations where, hey, I didn't say that. Someone cut and pasted some other information on there, and that's not what I was saying. It's public embarrassment. So really watch what's going on with the social media. When you have been either through the justice system, it could also potentially affect future employment depending on the severity of what has been done or what the crime has been committed. There is all kinds of state and federal laws that apply to not just adults. They apply to youth as well, under 18. They can be also charged with these kinds of crimes, and we'll talk about these in a second here. But I want everybody to remember, everything you put on social media is permanent. There's no way to take it all back. You may be able to take some of it back through scrubbing it, and there are companies that do this stuff, but by and large, once you post it, it's on the way out to millions of people. Okay, next slide, please. So briefly, I'm just going to go over some of the laws that are applicable to what you may be exposed to or have some reason to come across if there's something going on at your school or with your child. So if you look at the section 311.11 of the California Penal Code, is possession of child pornography. And we usually think that in terms of, adults gaining lots of photos of underage kids. But what that means is if your own child possesses those images that are pornographic in nature, which means if they're getting images from other minors sent to them and they possess those images that are of pornographic matter, that is a crime. So that youth has committed a crime. That's a felony. So although the juvenile justice system deals with things in different ways with bringing situations to justice, these are serious offenses that youth can still be charged with. Next page, please. So in looking at what we do in these investigations, before I go on to the next section, I just want to cover that, we look at, are there multiple accounts by people who are causing problems on social media? Our investigations, what do they entail? They entail us doing inquiries into any of these social media accounts, the Snapchats, the Twitters, and all the Facebooks. We have legal representation to go into those profiles, and we will on occasion write search warrants. We will do forensic exams of some of these accounts or any information that we seize as far as computer, laptops, hard drives, and those kind of things. So beware of what can be collected as evidence, and think about those things, because those are places we're probably going to look, or at least sometime examine, to see what we can find as far in an investigation. So beware of those things and know what's going on your phones and on your computers at home. So moving on to this other section, 288.2 of the California Penal Code, sending harmful matter to a minor, also known as the sexting section. So when someone is sending harmful matter to a minor, That could be a minor sending to another minor. So be aware. It's not again. It's not just. There's no exemption here. It can be an adult or it can be a minor that commits this kind of crime. So it's very important for everybody to understand that your child involved in any of these acts of sending information or possessing it of underage images, of inappropriate images, are subject to criminal prosecution. Again, this is a misdemeanor or a felony. One thing I want to do before we move on to the next slide, as we close this out, is a case that came across a couple years ago that my school resource officers investigated a case where an adult who was 25 years old was luring kids online to sending images of himself that were pornographic or that were harmful in nature, nude images. He ended up getting them to connect with him. He had 6 victims. 4 of them he assaulted, and 2 of them he tried to meet, but they didn't. They reported to school staff and were able to get that taken care of. And we launched an investigation. And ultimately, this person sexually assaulted 3 of the minors, minor females, and he received 11 years of a prison sentence recently. So they're out there. They're out there. Please be aware that they're out there. Okay, next slide, please. Again, the extortion law, obtaining property or other consideration from another with his or her consent, wrongful use or force or fear, and that means consideration, meaning of anything of value, including sexual conduct or an image of a body part. So basically, threatening somebody in fear that they're going to use their images if they don't get something in return for it. And the last section, real quick, is 647 of the California Penal Code, revenge pornography. This is relatively new. Anyone who intentionally distributes the image of the intimate or body parts of another or of another identifiable person, and the rest of the section continues as committing a felony, or misdemeanor. So another tool that we as law enforcement can use that has kind of drifted away in the past, but now we have some other tools that have some teeth sunk into them to take care of that. So let's go to reporting of incidents. This is really at the top of the list for me for talking to parents. Quick reporting, especially for threats. If we know the information, we can act on it and get resources on it immediately. We have had information and incidents in the past where someone wavered on whether this information was really important. It was the afternoon of one school day, didn't say anything to anybody, and then the next school day they decided to report it, and which caused a stir and some disruption at school on campus. So when in doubt, or whether you're wavering about reporting any kind of school threat or other social media issues, report those to your school staff. And who do you report to? You can report to a number of people: school resource officers, your school administrators, counselors, teachers, and other school staff. It's so important for us to get that information as quickly as possible, because if we get it quickly enough, we can get the facts together and figure out if there actually is a serious crime or threat going on campus, and we can remedy that or respond to it as quickly as possible. So really, really important for everyone out there. If you're just wavering on whether to call us or not, call us, please. It'll save lives in the long run. It'll save a lot of disruption to school, and it'll save a lot of delays on campus, or parents thinking that they should send their kids to school or not. All those are real big considerations for us to make sure the schools are safe and they go on every day normal. And just in closing, I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in tonight. And there's some things I just want to talk about quickly here on this last slide. Be aware of what's going on around you. Be aware, monitor your child's social media. Be compassionate, be mindful, be supportive, be there for your family and friends, and be a difference maker to your kids and your community, because without that, you can't make an impact on what's going on, not only with your own family, but those around you that you work and go to school and drop your kids off to school with. Real quick, to monitor your kids' social media accounts, make their accounts private through the settings on those websites or the phone applications. Do not text or contact strangers or any account that is unknown to them. And do not accept friend or follow requests from accounts they are not familiar with or do not know the identity of the user. Super important. Those are good takeaways tonight to monitor social media. So we talked about the issues, and we just mentioned how you can be more responsive, or in some cases more responsive with your kids' social media on the phone or on the computer. One last thing here, if you see something, say something, recognize the emergencies, take the responsibility as a parent to monitor your kids, and make that decision to act, and choose to act, because if you do that in the long run, we're sending the message to our kids who are going to raise their kids later on to do the right thing and be ethical about what we do every day. So with that, I want to thank everybody again tonight, and we'll answer some questions later on. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Captain Aguilar. Such great information that he mentioned tonight. Again, we'll be taking questions after the presentation, and our SROs have such a tough job, but we appreciate them all.
Yes, absolutely. Next up, we'd like to welcome Claudia Delgado. She's the Community Services Coordinator for the Ventura County Behavioral Health, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about cyberbullying. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And some of the information that you're about to hear may sound repetitive, but nevertheless is really important. So let's get started. And let's start a little bit from the beginning. What's bullying, first of all? Bullying is unwanted, aggressive behavior. And what this means is the youth wants the aggressive behavior to stop. It includes a real or perceived power imbalance. Kids who bully use their power, such as physical strength, access to embarrassing information, or popularity, to control or harm others. Bullying behaviors happen more than once, or have the potential to happen more than once. Now, bullying can be verbal, and this could mean saying or writing mean things, teasing, name-calling, inappropriate sexual comments, taunting, threatening to cause harm, for example. Can also be physical, hurting a person's body or possessions, hitting, kicking, pinching, spitting, tripping, pushing, taking or breaking someone's things, making mean or rude hand gestures as well. Bullying can also be social, and we're talking about hurting someone's reputation or relationships, leaving someone out in purpose, telling other children not to be friends with someone, spreading rumors about someone, or even embarrassing somebody in public. And bullying, of course, can also be online. And now we're talking about cyberbullying. And cyberbullying is, in the next slide, the use of electronic communication to bully a person. Bullying through electronic technologies such as cell phones, computers, or tablets includes sending, posting, or sharing negative, harmful, false, or mean content about someone else. Includes sharing information or private information about someone else, causing embarrassment or humiliation. Now, the most common places where cyberbullying occurs are social media, for example, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or TikTok, just to name a few. Also text messaging and messaging apps on mobile or tablet devices. Instant messaging, direct messaging, and online chatting over the internet. Another place in which cyberbullying takes place and is very severe is in online gaming communities. Next slide, please. What are some of the warning signs a child is being bullied? Well, a child can show loss of interest in school or not wanting to go to school, can isolate from friends and family and avoid social situations, can also avoid activities they used to enjoy, change in eating and sleeping habits. For example, now can be difficult sleep or frequent nightmares, or they are not eating as much as they used to, they are losing weight or gaining weight, for example. In the next slide, we're seeing more possible signs that a child is being bullied. A child can have mood and behavior changes, decreased self-esteem, show signs of depression or anxiety, can get sad, angry, or upset during or after being online, can fake illness or frequently say that he or she feels sick, may show or have unexplicable injuries, has self-destructive behaviors, example, harming themselves or even talking about suicide. Now, if you notice any of these signs in your children, it is time to have a conversation with them. Parents should also contact the school their child's teacher, or the school counselor. Because if you're noticing any behavioral changes, I'm sure that the school staff is also noticing those behavioral changes as well. Next slide. What are some warning signs a child is being cyberbullied or is cyberbullying others? Well, some warning signs can be seen in the way a child uses their electronic technology. For example, an increase or decrease in cell phone, tablet, or computer use. A child hide the screen or electronic device when others are around, or avoid talking about what they are doing online. A child has emotional responses, but this could be drastic, like an even laughter, or they are really angry. They get really, really upset to a point that you may have not seen, this behavior on your children. Social media accounts are shut down or new ones appear. Now, we just talked about, the importance of a parent to monitor children social media, but also maybe become friends with our children or have somebody that we trust to follow our children's account. By no means we are saying that they should be telling us parents know everything that they are posting or everything that they are sharing, but be mindful of what they are posting or the comments that they are making. Next slide. What parents can do to help their children? Really important. Talk. Keep the lines of communication open with your children. Set aside a little time, to talk to the children about, simple things. Start conversations about the day. For example, what was something good that happened today? Or, did you have a bad experience? Or what is lunchtime like at your school? Who do you sit with during lunch? Just easy questions that your children can answer, but can start a conversation. Pay attention to any changes in your child's behavior. And we just talk about a bunch of symptoms that you can see and notice in your children. So really pay attention. If somebody knows your children is mom or dad, so be on the lookout about any changes on behavior. Talk to your children about what content they can view or share online. And honestly, if somebody's gonna teach your children right or wrong, that's us. So we should have a conversation about the things that, that they can view, that they can share, comments, everything. Identify which apps are appropriate for your child to use and which are not. Set rules about the amount of time your child can spend online or on their cell phone, tablet, or computer. But really set those rules and make them respect them. And you, as mom or dad, respect them as well. If you say that, cutoff time is 9 o'clock, let's make cutoff time 9 o'clock. I cannot tell you how many times we've talking with parents and they are telling us that they are concerned because the children are online at 3 o'clock in the morning. That shouldn't happen. If you say that cutoff time is 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock, you set the rules. Kind of go with a first call or primera llamada. This is, 15 minutes before, 10 minutes before, and it's time to, set aside those cell phones. It's really important. Next slide, what parents can do to help their children. Some other resources that we can use. The presentation that we just had with the sheriff, we learn about actions and consequences. And we also learn about the state and federal laws. It was really important information. And this is the part that I was saying that it seems that we are repeating ourselves, but it's really important to pay attention. Do not respond to or forward cyberbullying messages. Don't let your children, but also you please, mom or dad, do not respond to messages because now it's an adult versus a child and it gets to another level. Document, keep track of what's happening and where it happens if possible. Take a screenshot of any posting harmful content or copy text messages. Block. Consider blocking the person who is cyberbullying from social media, phone, and or apps. Report. This is really important. Most social media platforms and schools have clear reporting policies and processes. If a classmate is bullying online, report it to the school. Contact the app or social media platforms to report the offending content and ask for it to be removed. You can always ask. Report physical threats or possible crime or illegal behavior to the police. Again, we just learned how to do it. So please make note of that. And support. Be supportive and let your child know that she or he is not alone and that you are there to help. Determine if your child needs professional support, such as speaking with a counselor or a mental health professional. Tell a teacher, principal, counselor, superintendent, or even the education department. Contact a community organization or other parents. Normally, these presentations take us about an hour, but there is a resource that I would like to share with you all, and that's stopbullying.gov, and that's on the next slide. That's an official site of the United States government, and believe me, there is plenty of information that can be useful for parents, teachers, children, for the community in general, and we can learn how to identify bullying, how to stand up, and how to do it safely. Finally, if you have any questions about our program or you're trying for your children to get mental health assistance, please contact us. Our phone number is on the screen as well as our email address. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube as well. But most important, please, you have to trust someone. Parents, teachers, an adult. Parents, trust on the school. Trust the police, trust the sheriff department. We're here to help and to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Great, once again, information. Once again, to our viewers, please don't be shy. If you have questions, feel free to type them up. We will take
your questions after this presentation. But we would like to show our next slide on the We Tip. Lots of students are reporting the crimes or misconduct that they're seeing on social media as well as on campus through We Tip. This is completely anonymous way to report anything of concern that they're seeing, again, on social media or on campus. The cool thing here is if a report leads to an arrest, We Tip will reward the student with $1,000. So we here at Oxnard Union High School District, we're really encouraging students, if you see something, say something. Next slide. So we encourage you parents, as you heard throughout this whole presentation, to really monitor your children's phones. And just a reminder, they can be sneaky, they are teenagers. So we are seeing some students even going as far as having 2 different accounts, meaning that they'll have one Instagram that shows them being incredibly innocent and pleasant, and then maybe another hidden account that they are not showing parents. They are also speaking in code. We are now noticing, for instance, these emojis that you're seeing on your screen, they're using them in conjunction with illegal drugs. So please be mindful of that as well. Next slide.
So what can we do as parents? And I think I'm reiterating what was already stated, but just to say it one more time. Number one, first and foremost, educate yourself. And by attending this presentation tonight, that's a really, really fantastic start. Honesty, being honest with our kids. Front loading it, setting the expectations, letting our kids know what we expect of them and that we're also there to support them. Setting the ground rules, as Claudia stated, having those clear expectations, and again, following up and following through. If you say that you're turning the phone off at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., follow through. Make sure it's off at whatever time you set. And if you follow these, you will be successful.
We also want to add to follow them on social media. Use the apps so you can familiarize yourself with the apps. They're not very easy, but once you get the hang of it, you'll understand how they're using it.
Absolutely.
And we're here to take questions. We're here to also help guide you through this process.
And just as a reminder, Teo, if you'll put Centeray's and my information on the screen, this presentation is being recorded. It will be up on our website tomorrow. So please share with your friends, share the link with your friends and family. It will be there for your review to watch after this evening. We want to serve as a resource and a support for all of our parents. That's Centeray's information and my information. Please do not hesitate to reach out to either one of us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. We also have Ventura County Sheriff's information and Oxnard Police Department's information, as well as Ventura County Behavioral Health. So we can get in touch with those folks for you as well if you have specific questions for them. And with that, we will take your questions. Any questions for us?
Why is the use of social media encouraged by schools?
Well, I will say that social media isn't all bad. It has really great features. It's a fantastic way to get information. We here at the district, this is a great side note. If you're not following us, please follow us. Oxnard Union. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and YouTube. But it's a fabulous way to communicate. So a lot of our students are using it to gain access to current events, what's going on campus. We're able to communicate with them. We're able to communicate
with you,
with parents. So it's a great tool if used properly.
Mm-hmm. And it's like anything, everything in moderation and using it appropriately.
And also kids are connecting that way, and we do
Yes.
encourage that. We want them to connect. We want them to establish relationships,
Yes.
but in a proper way.
Yes, these are, what I'm learning about my own teenager is that these are the social norms. It is not like when I was a teenager where you went over to your friend's house or you called your friend and met up. This is how our kids are connecting. So even though they may be alone in their room, they may be on house party with, 5 other friends talking about, the movie they saw last night. It is definitely a way for them to socially interact. So again, as long as they're using it appropriately and they're being monitored, if you ask to follow your child on social media and they hide their phone and say no,
Red flag.
that's a red flag. Mm-hmm. So those are things to be mindful of. But yes, if used properly, it can definitely be to their advantage.
Great question. Thank you.
Other questions?
What is the consequence that these kids are getting when something like this occurs?
Can they hear the question, or do we need to repeat?
Restate the question.
I'm sorry, say that again.
What is the consequence that these kids are getting when something like this occurs?
So the question is, what is the consequence? Okay, so once
What
again,
is
the
the consequence?
question is, what is the consequence? So at the district, do you want to go ahead and handle that?
So at the district level, it'll be handled by administration. That could be a suspension. It could even be a possible expulsion. I will let Captain Aguilar and Commander MacArthur discuss what that looks like at the law enforcement level, but at the district level, there's going to be disciplinary action. Usually, it's typically going to start with a suspension, depending on, and now it depends on what it is as well. So, is it a threat? Is there an instance of bullying or cyberbullying? It just depends, but the schools definitely will take action. Administration is on it. We take it very seriously. There is a zero tolerance policy. So from the district perspective, I can assure you that our principals and assistant principals work very, very hard to ensure that it is taken seriously and handled at the site level. I'll let the captain speak from law enforcement level.
So I hope I can answer the question. When these incidents happen, and we just talked about administrative sanctions, when they come up, remember we talked about to the criminal realm, then we're talking about interviews with students, fact-finding, getting the parents involved to respond to school. And if the facts are gathered together and we're able to make a determination a crime occurred, then we will notify the school staff, and whether they decide to either have the student go home for the day and impose some sanctions right then and there, depending on how serious the violation is. From our end of it, we will either issue a citation to be notified for youth services. So when we issue a citation to the child or to the parent, they will be notified by our county youth services and for follow-up about either future court proceedings or other ways to resolve the matter. Or the student could be actually placed in juvenile hall, physically taken into custody and taken to juvenile hall if the offense is very violent or of a very serious nature, where someone is seriously injured or other things happen on campus that lead us to believe that a very serious crime occurred. So I hope that answers the question.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
One more.
Uh-huh.
What is your stance on parental control software such as NetNanny?
Want to repeat it?
That's a great question. What is our stance on parental control software? Hey, if you feel you need it, go for it. There's a lot of great ones out there. Bark is another fantastic one. If you feel that it would help you to better keep track of what your child is doing on social media, absolutely. Some of them require a cost. I believe that there's some of them that are free to some extent, but then they charge a monthly fee if you want all of the features. So if it's something that you feel you need, I am absolutely in support of it. But I think it's a preference for parents as far as whether you feel you need that or not.
And be sporadic on asking your child to hand over their phone.
Yeah.
Don't say, oh, I'm going to do it once a week or every day at this time. Just I would randomly ask
Give
for
me
the
your phone.
phone.
Give me your phone. Let me take a look.
Your house, your rules.
Yes. Your house, your rules. That is absolutely correct and true. Any other questions for us? That's it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was informative, and we hope to make our schools a safer place for your children as well as our staff.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.